morning, guys. What's up? We are delivery day for our shipping containers. So they called last night about 8 o'clock and said it would be here at 8 o'clock this morning. And I still had some dirt work to do, and we had the skid steer out doing other things this weekend. And so it wasn't quite ready to go. So I got here about 6 o'clock, which was a bummer. I'm just not a morning person, but I did get the pad done. So all the gravel is ready. It's not the prettiest, but it's going to work for what we need. So what they're going to do is they're going to come in our driveway here. They're going to drive straight in. Then they're going to back it up through the grass, which we have solid clay underneath. And I was really hoping that it wasn't going to rain before this because it was really, really solid. The ground to the point where it was like cracking. It was so hard. So that I knew the truck wasn't going to have a problem in the grass. And then it thunderstormed for like a couple hours the other day. And so I'm really hoping that this big heavy truck does not get stuck in the yard. I know they typically don't deliver over grass just for that reason, because the truck is just really hard to get back out if it gets stuck. But I think it's solid enough. Obviously, like my clay over here is very slightly wet, but even like running the skid steer on it, it's not really mucking it up too much. So I think it should be okay. That was all fresh dirt, so that's why that looks like that. But they're going to back it up. They said they should have the first one here this morning, and then they said they could even maybe get the second one here by lunch. So they are about 2.5 hours south of me. I'm really far north. So they are trying to zip this one up real early this morning so that maybe we can get 2 in today. And then the third one will be next week. So after they deliver this first one, I'm going to try to get them up on these railroad ties that we already had here. It's going to be a very theoretical, we're just winging it kind of thing, because I have never built anything with shipping containers. So I don't know if there's a right way to do this. There probably is for people who do this for a living, but for us, we're just going to wing it. So I think right now our plan is they're going to be here. He called about 15 minutes ago and said he'd be here in 15 minutes. So he's probably right here. As soon as he delivers it, we're going to try to get it positioned all the way to the far left first. That way I can use the skid steer ideally to put these railroad ties underneath, because the skid steer should supposedly lift this thing up. I have forks right now, the bucket's on it, but I am going to put the forks on it so that I can lift it straight up. And then hopefully me and my father-in-law can shimmy some of these railroad ties underneath there. And if that doesn't work, I did buy corner casting. It's like a little steel part that like connects to the corner casting, and then you use a bottle jack and jack it up. I don't think that's going to go as smoothly, but I did buy it just in case. And then I've got corner casting ties that kind of tie them all together once they're there. So once we get that first one up, they're going to deliver the second one as close as they possibly can, hopefully this afternoon, like I said. That way, if for some reason the skid steer like can't pick it up and move it very far, at least it's pretty close. I could just push it. My concern with that is on this gravel here, if I start to push the shipping container, A, it's going to dink all my gravel up, and B, I'm worried about the gravel getting in between the two containers and not being able to get them tight enough together because there'll be gravel rocks in between. So my plan there is that I'm hoping the skid steer, it's a big enough skid steer. We have a Kubota SVL 75. And so I'm thinking that it should be strong enough to just pick it up that 8-10 inches to stick that railroad tie under it. And then I could slide them all over. But like I said, we're just kind of winging this and doing it for the first time. And our first one's here, so I'm really nervous. But we will let you guys know as soon as we get that done. All right, that's the plan. First one delivered. Get it up quick. Second one get delivered today. Hopefully get that up and stuck next to each other. I have a show this weekend down in the cities, so I will be gone as of Friday. So I need to maybe try to get this all situated and ready for them to deliver the last one next week. Once we get that up, we're going to push them all tight together. Use those corner casting. They're like little bolts that like mush it together. And then once those are all secured and we have it all pretty much level-ish, then we get to work. All right, guys, I wanted to show you quick before they drop off this container. So this is the gravel pad we made. It's not pretty if you do this for a living. Oh, well, this is what mine ended up looking like. Things I would not do by 4x4s. Kind of a waste of time and money. The gravel's going to stay right where the dirt ends. So if you're doing this yourself, I wouldn't waste your time with that. I even put rebar in them, and the skid steer just fucked them all up. So not worth your time, really. But we got all this 3/4 rock delivered to make a well-draining pad so that we don't rust out the bottom of these things. And like I said, this was all clay before, so I dug down about 6 inches, put double stacked railroad ties, or not railroad ties, double stacked 4x4s, rebarred them in, didn't hold. Put the ground liner, also didn't stay because the skid steer dinked all that up too with the tracks. And then they delivered 30 yards of gravel. And so that is what we spread with the skid steer, tried to get it sort of level-ish. But these containers are here. There she is, guys. She isn't pretty. She's definitely rusty, but she is big. So I'm gonna have 3 of these things. Whew, that is questionable. All right, so I'm gonna help this guy back it up. He's got this thing down though. I thought the truck was gonna be bigger, so I'm glad it's not. But he's gonna back this thing up right into our spot here. And this will be number 1 of 3 once he gets it down. So here we go, what's happening? So we're back. It's about 3 o'clock right now. We got here at 6 this morning, or I got here at 6 to do that dirt work. And then the first delivery was at 8. That's this container here. And then after that, my father-in-law came and helped me get it up on these railroad ties. So we ended up putting 1 on each end here just to hit those corner posts and the rails underneath. And then we did 1 in the center over there. So okay, say hi.
Hi.
What are we doing today?
We're playing at the property.
Yeah, and what are we putting up with the big truck spring?
You tell her.
No, you tell them.
I can't.
Why not? Do you not know what it's called? A shipping container?
A shipping container.
Container. So we, all the 15,000 workers in my head, decided that we were going to put the doors on the back, because if I want to later in the future put windows, I would rather have this flat side right here. So that is why I have this facing the way it is. So if you're wondering why the butt end is facing out, because I'm going to load my stuff in material wise as I'm building through the back, but I'm never going to actually use that as a door. I'm putting a man door in the side, and that's going to end up closed in as a wall. So I'd rather have that flat side over there so that I can put windows in if I need to later on. All right, so this is what the back side looks like. I opened both of the doors. So like I had said, I wanted those in the back because I'm not actually using them as doors. I'll have a man door in here. And I am just going to load all my like building materials and stuff. So I have plenty of room back here to open these. And then that's what the inside looks like. It's just a big empty box. So the nice thing is that it actually has a pretty good step up here. So I will have to build steps, but on my man door, I'm going to build a ramp because I actually got a double steel door. Hang on, mommy's talking. I got a double steel door so that I can put a ramp on it, and that way I can haul pallets and stuff in and out right through the main man door. It was a heck of a deal at Menards on like 50% clearance. So, okay, let's get out of here. So that's why I oriented the doors to the back, because I'm going to actually close them in and frame them in, and they're never going to open after I build my walls. Thank you. Okay, so we have this setup going on here. I got this thing on Amazon. It has like a knob that goes into the corner post, rotates, and then goes up. And then we just have it on a bottle jack. So you can see, obviously we did the majority of it with the skid steer, with the forks, but to tweak these corners, you can see it lifts it really dang good with just a regular old bottle jack. And that is what we're doing to level. These 2 corners just have to go up like an inch. So we're getting that all figured out right now. All right, day 2. We've got this one as tight as we can get it with the trailer next to that one. We're setting it down on railroad ties this time. So hopefully we don't have to lift it and finagle it later. And then we're just gonna use the skid steer to like push it tight against the other one. So we got this railroad ties out. So where we're gonna put them is one in the back on the ass end. When he sets that down, Ideally it should just sit on there, and as he drags the trailer out, we're gonna throw some on the side and then one in the front at the very end. We've got a quick change of plans. We are going to attempt to push the ass end over and touch it before it's even off the trailer. So I'm gonna hop in the skid steer right now and help them out. We're gonna try to slide the back end so it touches first. Then as we slowly drop it down, we're gonna put the railroad ties under it and slide it completely over so we don't have to mess with it after this guy's gone, since it's already up in the air. We're gonna see how that works. This is a lot of last minute changes here. Okay. So we're just getting this tucked on this corner. He's gonna raise this end up with the trailer, and then we're gonna put these underneath. So we got that end already with the skid steer. We pushed it over as he was dropping it down. So that end's already touching. We're gonna raise this up, put the ties under it, and then push it with the skid steer. So it's already sat down on them and pushed over. So then we should be ready to lock it in already. We are back. What is up? We just got done with the mini Haha Falls show this weekend, and now I'm back at the containers trying to get these all figured out. It's kind of like a cold, cloudy day today, which is a great work day, honestly. I don't mind it. It's like 65, which is perfect. But we got our second one here. I am now measuring today the inside because I do need to order some, like if you've ever seen those steel posts that they like put in basements and stuff, they're adjustable height. That's what I'm going to use. So this is the inside of our second container. It's actually kind of nice. Hard to tell right now, but like it must have been used as a painting container because the entire inside is sprayed like all these gray and blue colors. So it actually looks kind of pretty inside because it's just already painted and it's not all rusty and dinged. Or, I mean, it is, but you just can't see it because it's painted over. And so what we're going to try to do this week is you can still see that they're off level a little bit there. The problem on this one was that the center was too high, and so neither of the ends touch. But the front end of this container needs to be lifted up a little, which will push this back end down a little bit. So as you can see right there, it'll level it out a little bit. And then this back end of this red one's probably going to end up going up to match, just because this back side of my gravel did actually drop off quite a bit. And it was just something we're going to get all figured out and situated. So our gravel pad's there. And I think I'm going to try to get that done tomorrow because they're delivering the third one on Wednesday. So I just got done with my show. I'm a little scrambled. I had my show Friday, Saturday, Sunday down in the cities. Just came home today, kind of got everything resituated, dropping off my trailer, getting all my inventory done. So that hopefully tomorrow I can come situate these. I will have to do it by myself. My father-in-law is out of town for a fishing trip, and I'm not gonna ask my husband. He's at work all week anyway. But that's my plan. As you can see right here where they connect, the blue one is a little bit lower than the red one. So I need to lift the blue one up in the front, which will make the back go down a little bit. And then I do know that the back is not level on this red one anyway. So we're gonna try to push that backside up on both. And we're gonna get those corner bolts in, hopefully on these first two containers so that they don't move when this third one comes in. Because I'm gonna put the railroad ties down first, just like we did with this blue one. And then he's gonna drive it in, drop it. I'm gonna push it with the skid steer over and then hopefully get it leveled right on Wednesday when he's here and then get them all connected together. So it does take a little while. So those steel columns come in certain sizes because they're only adjustable to a couple inches. Obviously they wouldn't be very structural if you could adjust them a ton. So I think the sizes they carry in the store are for like 8-foot ceilings. And this one is 8'10". So I'm gonna have to order one of the sizes anyway, and it's gonna take like a week to get in. So I wanna make sure I have that ordered now and make sure it's the correct size so that I can have that ready to go for next week, because once they deliver this one on Wednesday, I can start getting it all cut apart basically. So I'm gonna start in a 10-foot section. As soon as those things get here, I'm gonna put a post in, continue to cut a section, put another post in, continue, and we're gonna just see how it goes from there. I have considered buying a welder so you can see, I'll kind of explain it a little better here, but these corners stick out. Well, actually, now that I'm looking at it in person, maybe it'll work even better. The goal obviously is going to get these to be flush, but once these walls on the inside are cut out, there's going to be a little gap in there. Obviously, you're never going to get it perfectly flush. And to make sure that this is watertight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a piece of flat bar steel and weld it on both sides all the way down. So it'll be on all 4 sides of the container, the floor, the walls, and then the ceiling there. So you just need to measure basically how big the gap is once it's all put together, which my guess is I could get away with like a 3 or 4 inch piece of flat bar. And that metal is going to go straight down, and it's going to get welded on both the red and blue side so that it seals it shut. It'll be a little more structural rigidity, but these are super solid in the corners anyway. It's mostly going to be to keep that wind, water, bugs, all the things out. So that's the plan there, is once they're all attached, that seam on both sections is going to get covered and welded. I have never welded before. I Googled it. It seems like it's something I could do, given all the other skills I've learned. My husband did take a welding class like in high school, so I think he is familiar with it. Otherwise, our neighbor over here actually knows how to do literally everything. So I was thinking maybe just giving him a case of beer to go do it for me. But we might purchase a welder to try it, or at least to learn and do other sections, and then maybe have someone really good at it do this for us. So whether I weld or not, I'll let you guys know later. But that's the plan. Like I said, I'm a little flustered. I got home from this long weekend. I'm super tired. But we got to get going on this project before it gets cold out, because I really want to have all my stuff out of that tent. So third one's coming on Wednesday. And I think he said it's the same color, red. But again, they're all going to be painted black, so it doesn't really matter. So the plan there is, again, going to lay those railroad ties down first so that he can just set them down, because that was slick last time. Thankfully, the driver really knows our plan already, so it should be pretty quick. But that's what we're doing today. I'm going to go measure inside there. It's, what did I say, 8'10". It's 8'10" in there. But I believe where those columns go, it's only 103 inches. So I just need to make sure, I'm going to double check it quick and make sure that I order the right one that's adjustable within that range of 103 inches is what I need it to be at. So obviously I can't order one that is 103 inches because I need to crank it up to that. So I need to see if they have one just under that range. But that's what we're going to do. Check that, get those ordered. And then on Amazon Prime Day, I got a ton of metal grinding wheels, because I think that's pretty much what I've seen online for this. I'm not going to try to torture it or anything, but I've seen the sheet metal. You just cut it with the grinding wheel. I did that on my trailer, but it was thinner metal. So I'm hoping it works with this. On Amazon Prime Day, the wheels were like $1. So I just got like 15 of them. And if I blow through them, that's okay, because I got a lot to cut out. But we're just going to mess with it, get a plan going, and I will share more once my brain's not scattered. So it's day 3, delivery 3. It's day 55,000, I guess, but it's day 3 of delivery. Check out the new toy. Awesome new dump truck. At some point that'll serve a purpose. You always find a use for toys, but I'm out here today. It's raining, which is kind of a bummer because everything's a little bit wet and gross. I didn't plan on it raining, and I work out of that tent back there, and I didn't shut any of my windows. So that kind of sucked this morning, but obviously we're on a gravel pad, so it has good drainage, but we're also supposed to be setting this very slick metal container down on these railroad ties, which are covered in water and mud. So I hope it doesn't make anything a little more difficult today, although I'm sure it will. At least it'll be dirty and gross. So got my boots on, got my coffee, but we're just waiting. They said that they were going to deliver it at 8 this morning, but then I got a call from the guy. Kyle's the guy I've been working with out of TKI. He's the owner there. He's got a branch in Moose Lake, Minnesota, and down in the cities in Minnesota. So if you're looking for good, reputable shipping containers, Kyle's your guy. Like I said, TKI. I can link. I know maybe he'll let me link his email and stuff, but I'll post that in the description. If you're looking for shipping containers and you're in the Midwest area, I'm not sure how far he delivers, but I do know like when I was starting my looking at shipping containers, there's a lot of scams out there, which really sucks. But people like to take whoever's money they can. And this is like a super easy one to fake. Anyone can get a picture of a shipping container, but you really got to do like your looking, because this is not something that typically people will be like, oh yeah, like there's one down the road from me. Like these are things coming from all over the country. And typically you don't get to see them before you buy them. I mean, Kyle's super awesome. He like emailed me or texted me pictures of all of them so I could see them and approve them. And he like explained to me what all they were fixing on them and things like that. But like when you just Google shipping container sales, they are pretty hard to find legitimate ones. I do know of a couple more in like the Minneapolis cities area, if anyone's down there and looking, but Kyle was the closest to me and he was legit and super easy to work with. So if you need shipping containers and you're in my area, that'd be my go-to for you guys. But that's what we're working on today. They're going to deliver those. So they were originally going to come at 8, and then they ended up having to make an emergency delivery somewhere else for one before me. So they're coming now sometime around lunch. I think it's like 11 something right now. They're going to come drop it down on that just like we did the last time. They're going to drop it down on that far railroad tie there. And then we're going to shimmy these other ones. I got them set up yesterday with the skid steer. I dumped them just along the sides here, so when he pulls that straight in, we can roll them in. Last time my father-in-law helped, so now we're just down to the two of us, me and the delivery guy, who's super awesome, his job too. That's kind of where we're at right now. They're doing river rehabilitation, so they got like a bunch of loud trucks coming in right at the end of my driveway. They're repopulating steelhead in our river. And so they had a bunch of boulders delivered, and all these heavy trucks are coming in, and every time I hear one, I try to pop out of my tent and make sure it's not my big heavy trucks coming in. So that's where we're at right now, just waiting to hear what time they're getting here. I'm hoping that this rain stops, because like I said, I did not expect it to rain, and now it's like all muddy and gross, but it was downpouring like 15 minutes ago. So I'm glad that it is not anymore, because I'd rather it just be like this than pouring rain. But there we go. That's our plan for the day, waiting for them to come. Delivery number 3. I think he said it's a brown. I didn't even have him send me a picture of this one because I trust his judgment on it. I bought mid-grade. If you missed out, mid-grade high cube 40-foot containers. So they're 40 foot long, 9'10" high, 9'6" high, inside's 8'10", 8 foot wide. So that's what those are. They're delivering the third one. I think he said it's brown like my first one. I would call that red, but we'll see. It'll be a surprise when it gets here. It'd be cool if it was white, but that's all right. Yeah, that's all I got right now. I will let you know as soon as they get here. All right, I do want to point out, I do actually level these containers with an actual hand level. I'm not just eyeballing it. So to give you guys a look at like where we're sitting, that's about the best I'm going to get front to back. And I ran the 6-foot level all the way across to make sure that there were no low points. Obviously, it's a steel beam, so it's not like it's flexing or anything, but I do actually level it and plumb the corners and stuff like that to make sure that they are sitting how they're supposed to. Obviously on these ends it's kind of hard because like a lot of this rusted away area is chipping, so you can't really get it to sit exactly on there, but I do level this and plumb it with actual manual level. So as I'm going, I like eyeball it the best I can. I have a decent knowledge of when it looks level, so that helps a lot. And then I might go and make tweaks and arrangements here with this level. So it's pretty much all level. If you don't know what plumb means, it means like vertical, how it sits this way. Level means like this. So it's level right here, but plumb wise, it needs to come just a touch this way on all the corners, which basically means that it's not quite sitting as a square where it looks like it. So it's sitting like this right now, and I need it to go just a little bit like that. And so that's what I'm going to do once that third one's in, I think, because right now they're sitting pretty much where I need them to, and I don't want to mess with it too much. It is only about an inch that I need to shift them. So like the level bubble is just like a little bit off. So instead of sitting like this, it's just slightly sitting like that, but not very dramatic. So I obviously wouldn't worry about it too much if this was going to be all I was doing, but I am planning to build on top of it, and I don't want to dink my stick frame on top of it later, because if it's obviously tilted back, then I go to frame everything and it's square and plumb, and then it's looking wonky on the wall. So obviously that's going to be my next thing. is to get it plumb, just for the simple fact that I am building on top of it. If you were just doing this, that little bit would not make too much of a difference. Honestly, your drainage would all go to the back then, which wouldn't be awful. But like I said, I'm building on top of it, or that's the plan anyway. So I am going to plumb these a little better. It's just finicky little stuff, especially when they're already sitting level. And that's kind of my big thing, is that I don't want to dink with that too much. The front, obviously, if this is not plumb, this is not exactly level, that's pretty dead on back and forth. But side to side here, this side needs to go up just the slightest on both of them, but I have to be able to keep those corners together. And I don't know that I have, it's not enough to where I could stick a 2x4 under it. So I'm going to need 1x to shim. And then that's kind of where we're at right now. So that's the plan. I'm going to plumb these later once we get this third one in. He should be coming pretty soon here. But I was just double checking my level, and it's really good front to back, which was my main concern because how long that span is. And that I just didn't want it tipping either direction. So it's level front to back, almost level side to side, and basically almost plumb. And I will show you once he gets here with that third one. Anyway, so this is a different driver, but I kind of walked him through it, and he seems like he's pretty confident in doing the exact same thing. So we're gonna set it down on the railroad ties again. He tried calling, but I think this guy had the wrong number. So he's here now though. Worked out well. We're gonna back this thing up. I'm gonna hop in the skid steer once he drops it down on this first railroad tie and then push it over. Kind of similar to what we did last time, and I hope it goes slick. But you can see he's just going to back it right up within a couple inches of this, as close as he can get, and then I'll slide it with the skid steer. It had just rained, go figure, all morning long, so the grass is a little bit slick, but he got it up no problem. So he's going to pull that in as tight as possible. They're really good at this because he's like real close banging into it. And then we'll get that sled in. For reference, this is how tight the trailer's getting. So that's like pretty dang good with a trailer. We got those railroad ties on the back, threw some in there, and then now just setting this down on this corner here, which is up high like the other one. I'm in the skid steer right now. I am pushing this back end so that it stays. I'm keeping the skid steer tight against it because he's going to take the chains, hook them up to the trailer there, and then he's going to pull that front end as tight as he can over to the other side. So with me pushing on the back and him pulling on the front, if I stay here, then it won't kick out the back also, and it should be lined up exact right away. So that's what we're doing right now. I'm just push all the back end over, and now I'm holding it there while he pushes the front so that it just flushes it up. So I'm just doing that real quick. Basically, I pushed that back end, and then he used the chains to pull the front end, but he ended up pulling it a little far, which is okay because I can just come up here and push it back with the skid steer anyway. But it's tight on the sides at least, so it's touching the other container as much as it can. Now I'm just going to push it backwards, and we'll be ready to shim this third one. Ta-da! We have all three. So it was a different delivery driver this time, but he also knew what he was doing, so that was super slick. Red, blue, red. They call it brown. It's red. It's not brown, but that's what it looks like. So this one, obviously, we did the same thing where we set them down on railroad ties. This one's a little dinked, though. Mostly, I'm assuming, obviously, it's my gravel situation here because that's where my drainage off this side was going to be. But it's going to have to go up quite a bit on both sides. So it's going to be the railroad tie with a 4x4 and then maybe even some shims still. I'm going to try to shim up this railroad tie first with some more gravel. So I'm going to try to put gravel underneath the railroad tie because there's no reason to have to like fill more lumber. So I'm going to pack all this extra gravel underneath that railroad tie to shim it up. So I'm going to lift the railroad tie with the forks because that's heavy. Kick some gravel under there, pack it down. And then obviously you can tell right here, these two are not plumb because it gaps wider at the top than the bottom. But also they're not high enough to sit flush anyway. So like I said, I'm going to put gravel under that railroad tie, then shim it up so that those are flush. Then that means that side over there needs to come up to close that gap on the top. And I'll check that with my level to make sure that I'm plumbing it right. because if you walk around to the backside here, which this railroad tie is going to need to get kicked forward anyway. The guy was in a super hurry. He's super nice and he was really good at his job, but he had a lot of energy and he was just going. And I think it was just like a little bit too fast for my speed. And so that needs to be kicked forward before I end up screwed and not able to get it under that front post. And then we added these ones down the center, tucked them under as far as they would go. I wish that one was in a little more because I don't want to have to chop it off, because if you've ever cut railroad ties, it's a pain in the ass. Like you can't just chainsaw through them. Like they are beefy. So, but this one's gonna have to get cut off anyway. So realistically, all three are probably gonna have to get cut. It's just more work. But you can see on this end, it's actually really good. Obviously it's not plumb because of that gap, but when that front corner opposite goes up, this back corner will go down. So that'll close that gap, but then it's also gonna lower this, and it's already pretty good. So I'm gonna close that gap first up in the front and then raise this and shim it. So I'm gonna have to work on the front first because that's the bigger issue. But we got them really close together with the skid steer. I mean, they're pretty tight. Like I can just stick my hand in there and that's about it. So a couple inches there, but it worked really well. It's our red, blue, red here. All the doors work. They take pictures before and after. So like they take pictures before delivery, then they like have proof of delivery where they have to check all the doors and make sure everything works. And obviously if it's not square, the doors are harder to get open, but we're working in a mud pit today, you guys. It's like literally caking everywhere because it just rained all morning long. And I was so hoping that it wasn't going to rain while he was delivering, because that would have just sucked getting those under there. But it stopped raining. It's just muddy and gross, but we're here and we're doing it. And now time to play around. I think it's like 3. I don't even know what time it is. It can't quite be 3 yet, but I have until like 5:30, and then we got to go to soccer and basketball and hockey and all the things. So I got like 2 hours to get this all situated. And then tomorrow I think I'm going to run down to the store and get those columns, because they did have them in stock actually. The interior height was not as outrageously high as I thought. So they did actually, one of the stores has like 5 of them and one has 2 of them. So I'm gonna go run around tomorrow and find those with the trailer and bring them here so I can get started next week. But that's what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna level these, try to dink with this front end that's like way off, and see how far we get today.